Are you ready? 3, 2,
let's go.
1, let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is Bushcraft Family with another video, and yeah, I'm always telling you guys what to stockpile and what to prep and this and that. And well, I thought, hey, let's flip it a little bit. Let's go over stuff that you shouldn't prep for a long-term solution, so to speak. So there are some things that, you know, you'll see people telling you to prep this, and it'll last 10 years if you store it right and whatnot. But some of those are not true, you know, and some of those you don't want to prep for a long-term scenario. So let's get to it, shall we? The first one on the list is whole wheat flour. What? We're always told to store that stuff, and it lasts for 20, 30 years, you know? But it is, you know, the problem with it is whole wheat contains the entire grain kernel, including the germ. That germ is packed with natural oils, and with most oils, those go rancid over time, even when the flour is sealed up tight, like in an airtight Marlar bag or something like that. So, you know, when they tell you to store flour for a long period of time, it's, you know, it's not ideal. You can freeze it, you know, but if we don't have access to a freezer, you know, for a long-term period, it's not the best thing. Now, one good thing to do is for a long period of time would be wheat berries instead. I've talked about this on a couple lives here and there, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's not like rice or beans or stuff like that, which we'll get to the rice scenario here later. But our next one on the list here, I'm going to try to move through these quite fast. Believe it or not, this is like the second time I've done this video. First time I had no sound and I didn't feel like doing a voiceover, so let's just do it again, you know? Next one on the list is powdered milk from the grocery store. Regular powdered milk from the baking aisle, which is where you find it, of your local grocery store, is not the same product for long-term storage. Powdered milk sold by preparedness companies, some companies, grocery stores, their powdered milk is typically non-instant and has a shelf life about 1 or 2 years, believe it or not. Even if it's stored correctly, you can, you know, if you store it correctly, you can get maybe 3, 4, but then again, it also tastes pretty bad. And the longer it you know, stored, the worse it tastes, which is not very good. If you want milk to stockpile, you know, the best thing to do is, because it contains protein, calcium, calories, and the whole shebang, invest in properly packaged instant powdered milk, which instant powdered milk tastes a lot better than, you know, just powdered milk from the baking aisle, which is used for baking, majority of it. Now, the stuff that you get from, you know, for long-term purposes, it's nitrogen flushed cans that are sealed that can last 20 or more years. And that's the way to go. Now, there are some that you can get at the store that does last a very long time. If you go to the Mexican food aisle, there are different color cans, so you have to pay attention which ones you get. But those are sealed correctly, and they can last a very long time. Our next one on the list is canned goods. And I'm talking about the metal cans you go to the store and get. A lot of people swear by these, and they used to be a lot better than they are now. Anything that's dented or, the lid's messed up, the top of the can or the bottom of the can, you definitely want to stay away from them. And also it's not so new now, but it's pretty much taken over every can good there is. It's the pop top. I don't know is the new generation hasn't learned how to use a can opener or something, and I've seen them have a hard time opening the pop tops too. But I don't know why we went to that. It used to be I worked in a canner before, and we did carrots and green beans and a few other things, and they were eight years from the time they left to the time they had to be sold in the store was 8 years. And now you're lucky if you get 2 hours, 2 years out of a fresh can of whatever. And that's not the pop top, by the way. So canning or buying a bunch of canned food to save for a long period of time is just not suitable anymore, because it just doesn't last as long. The seals are thinner inside the can. Yes, there is a silicone seal within the can that protects the food from decay in the inside of the can, or other way around. The next thing would be, and again, this is for long-term periods or long-term storage. Trail mix or granola bars. I mean, they're awesome for a camping trip, or a 72-hour bag or something like that. But the fact being, most nuts contain oil, and oil does go rancid. So storing that stuff for a long period of time is just a waste of money, because they're going to go bad. It's just the way oil works, within the nuts and stuff that are in trail mix. Our next one on the list is brown rice. Yep, brown rice. Why? It has oil. Yep. Brown rice has its outer bran layer intact, which contains oils that will go rancid within 6 months to a year. You're lucky if you get it for a year, but even under good conditions, it still goes bad because it's oil. And that's kind of the name of the game here if you follow suit here. So, alternative, the white rice. Whatever prepper preps for is that white rice. So, store it right. It'll last 25, 30 years. It sometimes outlast us. So, that's something you want to consider if you don't like white rice, we need to come up with something else. Our next one is medication. And, medication does go bad, just like most of everything else, but there are some medications that break down a lot faster. Liquid medications. There are critical, like EpiPens, insulin, nitroglycerin. Those generally are needed. They're life-saving devices. So those don't last very long. And you want them like at top notch, so to speak. So it's one of those things where you need to figure out an alternative to those types of life-saving medications. And that's where to start learning herbal remedies and stuff. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know any of that stuff. But yeah, there are other medications, antibiotics and stuff that you need to learn. You can stockpile a whole bunch of this stuff, but if you don't use it in 10 years and, you get a bad infection for something and wonder why it's not working, it's because, it's just an empty pill, basically. The next one on the list is vegetable oils. Vegetable oils do not have a very long shelf life. They're very short. The seals on the plastic bottles, if you're lucky, it's plastic. Or if you're lucky, it's in glass or something, but it's still sealed with a plastic lid, and the oils will break down that plastic. Now, alternatives, you get coconut oil, which will last a few years from going bad. Olive oil, you get olive oil in the old, they still sell them in the metal tin containers. It doesn't have any glass for the sun to hit it and stuff, so it lasts a lot longer. And then there's ghee, which Amish community have been using it for ages, and it lasts quite a bit. Next on the list is bleach. All preppers, we got to prep this bleach because, if our water goes bad, we can put some drops in there. Well, bleach starts to go bad in 6 months. It loses its strength as 6 months on goes. So if that's what you're using to save your family and yourself from icky, disgusting water, then you need to come up with a new system because, yes, bleach has an expiration date in it. And there's different potencies of the bleach. So, just 8 drops in a gallon of water might not do it, or it might be too much. So not all bleaches are the same. I would use bleach in a pinch if I had to, but if it was a long-term thing, I'm not going to store a bunch of bleach because I know it goes bad. So what's the point in it? Our next one is, which, I'm going to get hate for this one, but MREs. Yes, I'm talking about the MREs the military uses and these fancy packets you get in the store that are on the shelf for $12 for a half a snack. They're good for, an emergency situation, but not living on these because They are packed full of preservatives. Um, um, they this is why the military gives our soldiers, if they're eating these for a long period of time, they give them pills. One, to keep them hydrated. Two, to keep them to go regularly, because MREs will make you extremely constipated. Not to mention, the health issues, high blood pressure, hypertension, the whole shebang. So, like I said, for a long period, and that's all you're going to have type of situation, it wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't be a healthy situation. So, you can make a better meal in a jar, store it on your shelf, and it'll probably taste a lot better too. But again, there are alternatives to a lot of that stuff. The next one here is gasoline. I've seen people have gas sitting in their garage and whatnot that's been sitting there for 10 years, and it doesn't even have a smell of gasoline, and it looks like a soup because it'll break down and become like a gummy honey consistency. Gas doesn't last very long, and it's made that way. There are fuel stabilizers that you can actually put in your gas that makes it last a year or two. After that, it becomes unusable in most cases. And if you have a generator and stuff, and you have that fuel in those, it's going to gum up the carburetor and the line and everything in that. So it's a good idea to get rid of that stuff. Whenever I run my generator, even if my power comes back on, I let that sucker run out. It just, you don't want that stuff in there. And our last one on the list is seeds that aren't suitable for your climate or your growing zone, so to speak. Unless you have a big warehouse, greenhouse, you don't, if you're living up here in Ohio or Michigan or Minnesota, you don't need to have seeds that for like orange trees or lemon trees or pineapples or whatever the case may be. Only get seeds that grow in your zone. There are, say you if stuff happens and it gets real bad, and you say, "Well, I'm gonna walk down south, so I need these other seeds with me." Maybe suitable, but then again, you're going to be carrying a lot of stuff, especially if you're thinking that way. You need to have things in place for emergencies. If you're not going to be there where you're at, and there's always those times when you have to get out. But, most of us, we don't need to have seeds that aren't suitable for our climate or our growing zone. It just doesn't make any sense. Other than that, I think that's good for now. This is always something that, we can always talk about. But until next time, like always, God bless.
A small town in Texas, where a local homesteader
gets overrun by killer chickens that escape a local latchery, and only one man in his pet pink flamingo will save us all. Coming to a theater near you, Revenge of the Chickens by Whistlestop Homestead, starring Ann himself, with his guest star, Lucy the Pink Flamingo.